Good day. So, for New York State Notary Public, there is exciting, important update located at the Department of State website, which, as we know, because we reference this, if not daily, very often, dos.ny.gov/notary-public. Now, this very important update is about remote notarization. Effective February the 25th, 2022, remote notarization is now authorized in New York State per Section 135-C of the Executive Law. Now, please see the FAQs for more information. Before we go to the FAQs, please like, please share, please comment on these videos wherever you may see them posted on the web, whether that's Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, my personal website, or repost it and transplant it somewhere else on the web. Now, we are going to have a video on Section 135-C, and more in particular, Section 135, because as we know, that will be updated very soon by the Department of State. Now, to get into it, what is remote notarization? Remote notarization is a form of notarization where the notary officiates the document remotely through audio-visual technology and other security protocols. Remote notarization can be performed by a notary public by traditional ink, which is a pen, or electronic signature. How is remote notarization performed? Great question. To provide a remote notarization, the notary public must be physically located within the state of New York at the time of the notarization. The notary must identify the remote signer, also known as the principal of the document, through any of the following three methods. First, the notary's personal knowledge of the signer. Secondly, by means of communication technology that facilitates remote presentation by the signer of an official acceptable form of identification, credential analysis, and identity proofing. Or, lastly, through oath or affirmation of a credible witness who personally knows the signer and who is either personally known to the notary or identified by the previously referenced means of communication technology. Commercial software is available to notary public to perform identity proofing and credential analysis. Regardless of the method used to confirm the identity of the signer, the notary must be able to see and interact in real time with the remote signer of the document through audio-visual communication technology. This technology must have security protocols in place to prevent unauthorized access. The notary must make and keep an audio-visual recording of the remote notarization and ensure that there is a backup of the recording. After the remote signer has executed the document, it must be transmitted to the notary public for officiating. The notary must confirm that the document is the same as the one signed remotely in the notary public's presence before applying the notary stamp and signature to the document. The following statement must be added to the jurat. Quote, "This remote notarial act involved the use of communication technology." End quote. What is credential analysis? Credential analysis is a process where a third-party service validates a government issue identification presented by an individual through a review of public and proprietary data sources. What is identity proofing? Identity proofing is a process or service through which a third party confirms the identity of a signer through review of personal information from public and proprietary data sources. What is the difference between credential analysis and identity proofing? Credential analysis validates the authenticity of the principal's government issue identification, and identity proofing validates the identity of the individual principal. How long must a notary retain the audio-visual recording of each remote notarization performed? Great question. A recording containing both audio and visual of the remote notarization must be retained by the notary for at least 10 years. The notary must take reasonable steps to ensure a backup recording of the remote notarization exists and is secured from unauthorized use. The notary may authorize a third party to retain the recordings on behalf of the notary, provided that all recordings retained by a third party may be available to the Secretary of State upon request. Is a notary journal required? Well, absolutely. The notary public must keep a journal of all remote notarizations performed. Each journal entry must be made contemporaneously. Absolutely yes. The notary public must keep a journal of all remote notarizations performed. Each journal entry must be made contemporaneously with the performance of the notarial act, and each entry must include the date, approximate time of notarization, the name of the remote signer, the audio-visual technology used to perform the notarization, the number, and the type of documents officiated, and notarial services provided, and the type of identification credential presented by the remote signer of the document or documents. The journal must be kept by the notary public for as long as they remain a notary and for an additional 5 years thereafter. How much can a notary charge for remote notarization? A notary public may charge $5 per act signature. If the notary is not performing a remote notarization, the fee cannot exceed $2 per act. Does the notary have to provide remote notary services? No. If the notary does not have the appropriate technology or capability to provide such services, or does not wish to engage at all in remote notarization, a notary may decline to provide remote services. Additionally, a notary may and should refuse to provide remote notary services if the notary does not believe the person signing the document remotely has capacity to sign, or if the notary does not believe that the remote signer is signing the document voluntarily. Do notaries have to register with the Secretary of State to provide remote notary services? Great question. Any notary public commissioned by the New York State Department of State can act as a traditional or remote notary. No separate application or license is required, and the notary is not required to pay any additional fee to the Department of State or the county clerk where the notary is currently commissioned. On January 31st, 2023, the rules for remote notarization will change. One significant change is that as of January the 31st, 2023, any notary wishing to provide remote notarization must register the capability to perform electronic notarizations with the New York State Department of State, Division of Licensing Services, and pay the requisite fee, which is to be determined and established in regulation, to act as an electronic notary. Will remotely notarized documents be accepted by a county clerk or other government office? Yes. The new law states in part, quote, Section A, county clerk, city registrar, or other recording officer, where applicable, shall accept for recording a tangible copy of an electronic record, and that it is otherwise eligible to be recorded under the laws of this state, if the record has been certified by a notary public or other individual authorized to perform a notarial act, end quote. New York Executive Law, subsection 135-C, 12B, to be accepted, the notary would first have to certify the remotely notarized document. New York Executive Law, subsection 135-C, 12A. Specific questions about filing such documents should be directed towards the filing office where the document will be submitted. Now, this concludes the most recent update on our best reference guide as a New York State Commission Notary. This is Remote Notarization Update, effective February the 25th, 2022. Please reference, for more information, Section 135-C.